going to be presenting on the tricky role of the CEO in a new era of social responsibility. I'm Matthew Alessi.
And I'm Dylan O'Leary.
So we start with the principal-agent problem. So the principals in a corporation are the shareholders, us, everyday people. The agents are the people that are actually carrying out these, so like the executives, the shareholders. This includes management, employees. But there could be some problems between the principals and the agents, because the principals of the organization may have ideas that are different from the agents. The agents have the obligation to the principals to act in their best interests. One problem that comes from the agents having responsibilities to other besides the shareholders, these people are called the stakeholders, and they include but are not limited to the employees and the communities in which they operate.
Why are they important?
The stakeholders?
Yeah, shouldn't you just make money?
I would say that stakeholders are important because a company is important to the area it's operating in. And if they focus only on profits, you could have issues where the community, where the business is actually operating, suffering. And that can be a long-term detriment to the business itself, as it may struggle to find employees in the area that it has previously been operating in.
Okay, so will that end up benefiting the shareholder in the long run?
In most situations, I would argue that it would benefit the shareholders in the long run, but it can potentially short-term viewed as a detriment, because there occasionally will be short-term losses associated with.
On a long-term basis, it would be very beneficial for the company.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, why CEOs want to preempt criticism? And there's currently a change in public opinion that is taking place, and this is a change in the business theory, and it's going from a shareholder theory to a stakeholder theory. And a quote from an article that speaks to this is, either they're genuinely committed to socially conscious business practices, or they're trying to preempt criticism. And it reflects the way that CEOs are viewing this change. And to be honest, one way or the other, no matter how they're personally viewing it, as long as the change is, I don't think it matters too much why the reason behind these changes are coming. And the criticism that they want to preempt is coming from the general public, consumer base, and potential investors. And this is the example that I think of is investors that are focusing on companies that are going green, environmental-based companies, investors, and like hedge funds and stuff that will only invest in companies that are being green and eco-friendly.
They also said in the article, as of right now, only 1/3 of CEOs said that they would make the change to be more green going forward, which is not a good sign. So the difference between maximizing shareholder wealth versus profits. When you think about maximizing profits, more of a short-term approach. It focuses more on short earnings. A company will price their products as high as they possibly can to increase their margins for that quarter or the year. But when you talk about shareholder wealth, it's more about long-term. So when a company would reduce their prices compared to making it higher, and in change, it lets them gain more market share over the long term, which would increase their earnings long term rather than short term. So we added this picture down below which compares the difference between profit maximization and wealth maximization.
That's really a good point. Is that you're maximizing profit versus maximizing shareholder wealth, and they're really two different concepts, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I would definitely maximize wealth over maximize the profits. Although profits are more important for the short term. I mean, wealth is more important, but you might see, like we said before, you might not see the short term earnings be as high as you would like them to be. But in the long term, you want to definitely maximize shareholder wealth. Anything to add?
I think it also depends on the situation that a company finds itself in. I think newer companies more have to focus on profits to make sure they can get up off the ground and unfold very quickly, whereas larger companies can take these short-term hits for the long-term gain, and that can be used as a tool by some larger companies to gain the market share over smaller ones, because smaller companies don't have the same ability to drop prices and take short-term hits.
Okay.
And this slide is going to be about why wages have stagnated so much. And overall, the last 40 years, American hourly output has gone up by around 70%, while hourly wages and benefits have essentially stagnated. And I just wanted to put a definition on what hourly output actually was. And it's the mean hourly output rate for a particular piece or task is the average number of pieces or tasks your company is doing the work to produce perform per hour. And that's very wordy and not very specific, but generally what it means is how many tasks can be accomplished within an hour. And that is increasing. And I would argue that technology has played a major role in this. As technology improves, people are able to complete tasks more efficiently. But without a doubt, due to this uptick, I think it's unfair that wages have stagnated, and we put that little graph on the bottom to just visually show how big of a difference there has been over the past roughly 40 years as
So
output is
essentially,
increasing
as
and wages
workers,
aren't
we're
changing.
producing more and we're making the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
So does that mean companies are making more money?
Yes, the companies are making money in some cases, but in other cases, the money that would have gone to workers previously is being put into R&D and developing technologies to increase hourly output further. So there's got to be a trade-off going both ways.
That's
And
a
I
good
think it's fair to
point.
say that it might be leaning too heavily toward just improving technology and throwing stuff into R&D, and maybe the money's not. Some of that money should be rediverted back to the employees.
Good.
All right, so this one is why can be beneficial to increase employee pay. So it's a similar, same quote, but we're in a place where people's lives have not been made better off, is it was said in our article. Because after raising the minimum wage, so I'll state the CEO stated that they raised their minimum wage up to $15 an hour, and that a lot of other companies should do this. He also makes it clear that it's not easy. It's not an easy decision. The trade-offs exist making a decision like this one, but it could benefit the shareholders and give more money to the employees, improving the living standard of employees who were previously on lower wages.
What else might it, how else would it benefit the company? How else might it benefit the company?
Raising the minimum wage.
Could you repeat that?
Raising the minimum wage, it could incentivize them to work harder and get more work done.
Okay.
Do they feel like
Think
they're
about it does hiring people cost money? Does recruiting
Yeah.
and training?
Yes.
So if you make 15 an hour, you're less likely to leave as opposed to making $8 an hour.
Yeah, less employee turnover, less money in
So if you
training.
make $8 an hour, would you leave for $1 more an hour?
Yeah, probably.
But if you're making 15, would you leave for 16?
Less likely.
That's absolutely. So therefore, the company is going to have to spend less on recruiting and training. How productive do you think an employee would be the first 3 months of their job?
You're not going to be nearly as productive when you first start off than once you get comfortable. I'd say
Yeah,
that
how
you're
long
not
do you
going
think
to
it's
be
going to take
as
for you to
efficient as you're
become
going to be
productive?
until at least 6 months. 6 months is probably fair before
Okay.
you're like, there's like an element of you feel comfortable, but then you're actually settled in.
Okay. Good. Good point.
Because you start to see the same experiences over and over again, you get them. It's only so
Yeah.
much they can throw at you.
Okay. Commitment to stakeholders And if corporations make a commitment to stakeholders, then the long-term corporations can improve both social well-being as well as shareholder wealth. And it's important to note that there is a high potential for short-term losses when evaluating this, and that there will be trade-offs to improving social well-being. But these discussions, and they're not going to be aligned with profits all the time, but that's okay because despite the short-term losses, very beneficial long-term benefits of using this model. And I think that over a 20-year span, companies that do take and follow the model will be more successful than those that don't. And we put the Will Smith quote on the bottom: "The road to success is through commitment," and that's because it's going to be a lot of commitment from CEOs and dedication from companies to actually pull this off. Because it's very easy to see the short-term benefits of not following this model, and in the short term, there'll be other companies that could potentially pass yours while you're following this model, and you just have to stay the course and trust in the process that's going to work out in the long run.
But this is all going to require change to how the CEO or the leader of the company behaves and the actions. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, the commitment has to start from the top and work its way through.
Okay. So it's a top-down
Like
thing.
the high turnover CEOs has to stop. Like need somebody to run it. Yeah. Like I think you're going to need one CEO that a board is going to commit to over the long term. Like you can't have a CEO being changed out every 3 to 4 years and expect this model to work out, because it's going to be too high of a turnover of ideas and too many resets. Like a board's going to actually have to dedicate and get behind a plan from one CEO and actually see it through.
Okay.
And lastly, the Friedmans would very much be against the stakeholder theory if he were alive today. He would not recommend that a corporate executives try to maximize their well-being of the corporate stakeholders, because the company would not be able to maximize their profits in this way. Milton Friedman believed that the sole purpose of a business is to generate a profit within the legal limits. So he would argue that stakeholder theory includes meeting the interests of customers, employees, shareholders, and the community in which it operates is not as important. What's important is making money, as much money as possible while staying within the rules of law. So he wouldn't see all these other people that are affected by the company's decisions to be that important. They're just focused on the cash flows and the balance sheet, like the CEOs in the past have.
So he's saying, screw everybody, try to make the worst product possible. The people will buy, treat your employees like shit, and pollute the environment, and everything is just fine as long as you make money.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you're within the law and you're making money.
The role of a business to be socially responsible.
Okay.
Not saying we agree, but this is what he would probably say, based on what he said.
Yeah, I would disagree with this.
Good.
But as far as he would feel, it's not business place, so he would put it more on government to make it, because he says within the rules of law, but it very places the responsibility to government rather than on business.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. In closing, can you just put that back up? Go back to your header page, your first page. There you go. Put that one up there. Okay, so what we looked at is how is the tricky role of the CEO in a new era of social responsibility. What did you learn about yourself or working together from doing this?
I would say I didn't realize how drastic the changes were coming. Like I knew there was a shift in thought, but the CEO, Mr. Wilson, the CEO of Allstate, I didn't realize that actions were actually being made. I thought it was more just still talk at this point. So it was kind of
Okay.
nice to see that it's not just all talk. People are actually acting on what they say they're going to do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I
Matt,
was surprised. After reading the article, I was really surprised that a lot of the turnover rate was getting higher and higher for the CEOs. It was at like 8 years, and then it's been down to like 3 or 5 years now. Also, that a lot of companies don't want to cut out their CO2 emissions and be more green. Only 1/3 said that they would be willing to make that sacrifice. I mean, it shows how they're more worried about the money and like they're not buying into their social responsibility. It seems as much as you would like to see.
okay. Well, they sort of have to change their mindset and really buy into this to be successful.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.